joined by Rob Oates, the commercial director for rugby in Leeds. He's going to be telling us about the new stadium here at Yorkshire Carnegie, the still Emerald Headingley Stadium.
Emerald Headingley Stadium, yeah.
Rob, could you please tell us firstly why the club felt the need to make such extensive changes to the stadium?
Well, as I think most people in Yorkshire realise that this is a really hotbed of rugby, and it's the home of the Rhinos and Yorkshire Carnegie, and the ground was, whilst it's got huge history and heritage, it was falling down, and it was getting to a stage now where the south stand had some temporary work on it, but it was going to be condemned if we didn't do anything with that. And then the north stand that overlooked cricket and rugby league and rugby union, the shared stand, that was in quite a bad state of repair as well. On top of that, Yorkshire County Cricket Club needed to renovate their stadium to retain international cricket. So if you had some of the parts together, it was, I don't like the terminology, a no-brainer, but it really wasn't. And then plans were drawn. We've had 112 versions of the plans. That's how long the planning process went. And eventually we got to the plan of what we're seeing now, and it's been extensive, it's been interesting, it's been hard work at times, it's been a huge effort by Yorkshire, by everyone here at Leeds Rugby, but now we're on the final straight.
Other than obviously the two impressive stands, are there any particular facilities that come with this new stadium?
Yeah, I mean the south stand for us is, in terms of what did we do there, it was a stand that was very, very proud of its tradition, and our loyal fans went in there, and it was a 7,000 standing. So we took a view that some of those would like to sit at some point, and therefore that was split 2,200 seats, 5,500 standing, with a beautiful concourse, video walls, Formula One podium. It's really, really smart. It's a big stand, but it's functional. There's not a lot in it, but what is in it is absolutely top class, with the toilets and everything, and just simple, great facilities. The north stand and how that linked to our pavilion, that's the big, complicated piece of work. Because in that, you've got, at the ground level, you've got all the changing rooms for the team and everything that's in there. A road now goes through. If you remember, on the cricket side, there was a road before the stand, and then the boundary. Now that the stand now goes right up to the boundary edge, and therefore the road, if you like, is down the middle of the stand. So down that there's the road and access, because you need access through it, but then the changing rooms, all our changing rooms are on that side for the rugby. And then level one, lovely concourse overlooking cricket, and then level two, the Emerald Suite, which is the only room in the world that overlooks two international venues. So it's 450-seater banqueting facility that you've never seen as good in your life. We've looked at Wembley, Arsenal, Southampton, Man City, Man United, spent a bit of time at Liverpool, Sheffield United, and obviously Leeds United, and just looked at best practice, and all those clubs have done great things, and we've nicked ideas of how they've done it and just tweak what we did. So that room, the 450-seater, it's got pendant lighting, bar at both ends. It doesn't look like a stadium rugby area, if you like. It's almost like a boutique hotel, and that's what the design brief was about. It was about, right, this doesn't want to look like stadium as you'd probably see around the country. We didn't want yellow, blue and white tiles in the toilets. We didn't. So it's stone, it's backlit mirrors, it's pendant lighting. It's going to be absolutely stunning. And then above that is 12 boxes that just face the rugby side. So we've got 12, and they're big. They're really, really big, with beautiful seats on a balcony outside. But it's class. And then at the back of that, there's a breakout area, like a lounge area that looks over the cricket sky gantry. So how it links up. And because it's a tight space, that was the challenge, because you boxed in with the boundary on one side of the cricket ground and the touchline of the rugby. So in between that's the only space you've got. Those pitches cannot move, because you can't have a smaller cricket field. You can't go into the playing field of the rugby team. So that was the challenge. But it's going to be stunning. But then it's £45 million, so it wants to be stunning. And then on top of that, it's like, well, where do you stop? It's like decorating your house. So once we start, all the existing facilities that we've got in the Headingley pavilion, our pavilion, you go, well, that all needs doing. So that's had a refurbishment too. So there's rooms in there. So there was a room before called the Premier Suite, which is now with the Director's Suite, which has had some money spent on it, which again is going to be the nicest room we've got. It's stunning.
You mentioned there about the kind of history of the South Stand and the terrific atmosphere it had. Is there a concern from any fans that you're perhaps going to lose that?
Well, initially they were singing, "We'll never sit down, we're the South Stand, we'll never sit down." And they sang that when I was on the pitch doing the end of season bit. And on the mic I went, "You don't have to sit down, we've got standing as well as seating." I think the challenge for us, Jamie, was to keep the atmosphere. And everybody who's been in there have gone, wow. There's not one person who's gone, well, I prefer the old one. Because the old one, the toilets smell, it was dark and dingy, the terracing were crumbling, and there was nothing behind it. There was no area. There was a small bar and then a walkway. That was it. The facilities we've got in there, and if you do things right, no one likes change. I get that. But when you're doing it as we've done it, I think people accept that it was necessary and accept that what we've done is far outweighs what we had before. Far outweighs. And in terms just on the atmosphere, we've spent a lot of time with an acoustic engineer to keep the sound in it, because before the roof was like two triangles, if you imagine a roof like that. Now the roof's like that. So, noise going out in terms of retaining it in and having that atmosphere. So we've spent a lot of time and effort, and obviously there's cost to it, but to keep the acoustics in the stand, so that's been a big thing too.
You touched on the £45 million cost. Rhinos had a difficult season last year.
Difficult?
Carnegie's struggling a bit this time round. Has it had any financial burden on the squad?
Well, not so much. No, not so much on the team. The teams, obviously there's a budget in place for playing, and there's a budget in place, with the salary cap with the Rhinos. We're spending full cap. We've got marquee players in place. I think where it did affect us last year is the construction and whilst it's going on, because effectively we had an international stadium, but it was a construction site Monday to Friday, and then at 3 o'clock on a Friday it flicked into game mode, and we've got a temporary stand, we've got a third of the South Stand open. So in terms of atmosphere, and the players found it strange to play in, although it's no excuse, and they'd say that it was different. And in terms of revenue for us, that was a challenge to keep that going, because members and corporate and sponsors and partners, it's difficult, to try and keep that momentum going when you're in facilities that aren't that great. But when I say aren't that great, it was the best we could have done. Otherwise, you'd have gone, right, we'll go play somewhere else for a year. And then the implications of that are far wider than what we had.
So obviously it's one of the few grounds where it's got two curves sometimes in the same weekend. In the past the pitch was questionable, but over the recent years it's been pretty outstanding. What can you guarantee in the future it's going to be a pretty high quality pitch?
Yeah, we spent some money, we spent over £1 million on it 3 years ago. It was the first pitch in the country to have under soil heating back in the day, and we reinstated that because that became dated and unusable. So it's got under soil heating. We've got a team of ground staff who are fabulous. They're constantly getting awards at the international conventions that they go to, the Institute of Groundsmen. They're always right up there with the best in the world. They share best practice with a guy from Real Madrid and Man City. So it's cutting edge technology that we're involved with. Ryan Goulding does a fantastic job here. He's our head groundsman, and his team, Leon and Dan especially. And yeah, it'll be fine. It will be fine. At this time of year, so here we are in January, at this time of year it's hard. This is the hardest part because grass is not growing. So it's a bit like back of my head. It's like that's what you've got, looking a bit thin from a distance. But it will come back, and it doesn't take long to come back. So, but when the scrummings in rugby union and the malls, that can take its effect. And rugby union, rugby league, when they're runners, you only need one almost like skid through where you stood. It's hard to repair that, and certainly grass ain't going to regrow until we get 12 degrees of ground temperature. So I'm told.
finally, obviously, Rhinos have won everything that needs to be won. What are the ambitions for both Carnegie and Leeds Rhinos for the foreseeable future now they've got such a fantastic stadium?
Absolutely, yeah, and the ambitions never changed. I mean, the Carnegie one is a straightforward one. We need to get in the Premiership. So we said we've got a group of owners, 11 owners, who are absolutely fabulous and they're lovely blokes and they get it and they want the same thing, which is a professional Yorkshire team in the Premiership supported by Yorkshire people with Yorkshire produced players. And that was the vision, and that was the vision 3 years ago, and that hasn't changed, Jamie. The challenge with that is a lot's going on in rugby union at the minute with CVC, their investment in the Premiership. And we just need to be part of that. The difficulty is breaking into that. We invested heavily in the players this time. We need more investment, but that's an ongoing, challenge for us. But yeah, definitely team in the Premiership. And the Rhinos, well, the team is always to win it. You know, there's 2 competitions and the League Leaders Shield to win every year. And every year when we start out, it's that's the aim. We need to win. Everything we're playing in. Ideally. The treble, that's tough, if not a trophy, but to challenge for honours would be our aim this year. And Kev Sinfield, who's the director of rugby now, and Dave Ferner wouldn't say any different. I think in terms of, there is a bit of a transitional mode for us, where we've been with the Rhinos, and whilst we won it in 17, 16 and 18 were difficult years. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but we're certainly investing in the players and we've got every confidence in Dave Ferner.
Thank you very much, Rob.
Thank you.